Good evening. We have Miss Anam Fatima with us. She's from Bangalore. She's a co-founder and publisher of One Inch Margin. Let's welcome her.
Hi.
Hi, Anam. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, Anam. Thank you for accepting to be with us for the next 60 minutes. So we'll be touching more about I am, what I read, more about publishing, about books. We'll have three segments. Okay, first we'll start to know you about where you did your schooling, about your college days, a little bit about that. Then we jump into the main subject. Third one is a little bit surprise segment, which I'll tell you when we get there. Now we'll start
All
with
right.
who is Miss Anam. Okay, who is
All
Miss
right.
Anam? Where was she born? Where did she do her schooling? Where was her college studies? Where did it happen? Any interesting incidents which you would like to share? Name of your friends, favorite professors. Over to you. It's your time now. Over to you.
Hi, Hari. Thank you so much for having me on the show, and I'm very excited about it. So I am from Kanpur, Uttar Pradesh, and I did my schooling from Kanpur. My school's name was Hadid High School, and after that, because I wanted, at the time I wanted a high-paying career, and I thought that the easiest bet would be to because I was from commerce stream, so I thought that the best career option for me at the time was chartered accountancy, and I enrolled myself in at the institute, and soon enough I realized that it's not something that I want to do. Number crunching was probably not my thing, and then I finally quit that, and I moved on, and I started to work with an edtech company in Kanpur itself, by the name Nutspace EdTech Private Limited. And with them, I started working on stories and 21st century skills and all of that. So, college life, I don't know, not much of a college life, I would say, because CA is quite grueling. And I think after school, the first, I guess, 4 years that I was pursuing my chartered accountancy, I was mostly sort of between classes and internship and all of that. But yes, I have very, very good memories of school, and that was my safe space. Also, culturally, I would say, in terms of extracurricular activities, it was a rich period of my life, and very challenging at that. Um, from school, yes, I can definitely talk about some teachers who sort of have a huge role to play in what I turned out later on as well, and what I was doing even at that time. So there were two teachers particularly that I would like to name. One is Rosalind Joseph ma'am, and the other one is Mr. Lewis Rodrigues. Both the teachers had very different ways of sort of dealing with with children and with us, because so Mr. Rodrigues was a bit he was a bit strict, I would say, and Mrs. Joseph on the other side was a bit she was a bit mellow but also strict. So yeah, I mean, all in all, those were the teachers who sort of really pushed me to, really go. I mean, not be in my safe space and constantly challenge myself. Also, also at school, I was on stage almost all the time. So I was. If I was rarely found in my classroom. I was either dancing or singing or orating or something on stage. I was acting. So it was more of like I was not in the classroom, but everywhere else. So yeah, and then I think I got good grades. I wouldn't, or maybe say let's say decent grades. So I guess it was fine. My parents were okay with it.
Okay. What were the hurdles you faced and how did you overcome it? and what kind of lessons did it give you in your journey?
Hurdles, I would say, obviously, till the time you're in school, it's mostly about it's very structured. I mean, you go to school in the morning. You even your school is like the education system is also so structured. You go from one class to the other to the third, and then you come back and you're doing the same things. You're repeating the same things all over again. So it's like it's very structured and everything. I think the real challenges for me started off after school. Not that uh, I mean, there were things that I observed even when I was in school, but the real hit that I got, or I really experienced those hurdles only after school. One of those things was I come from an Orthodox, Muslim family, and I realized that it was very difficult for me as a girl to sort of do the same things as boys at the time were doing. Uh, Luckily, my family, my mom and dad are very they're staunch believers of education, and so I was given the best. Um, so I mean, up till then, up till there, I think it's fine. I mean, I was educated, but I was still not given the same kinds of liberties and the same kind of freedom that I think my brothers, my cousins actually got just because they were boys. And that really sort of affected me a lot when I was younger, when I was 20, 21. It really affected me a lot. And I constantly questioned my parents, and I questioned everybody else around me as to why I can't do the same things as my brother or somebody else. Um, and breaking that, coming sort of uh, facing that mindset and coming out of that, I think has been the biggest hurdle of my life so far, because it took me about 8 years after school to convince my parents that it was okay for me to move out of Kanpur. So when my friends were moving out, like right after school, I moved out in 2017, 2018, in fact. And that was when I could finally convince. So it's like 2 years ago. So that was when I was finally able to convince them that it's okay. I mean, I can live alone and it's fine and it's going to be okay. So I know that most of that apprehension, comes from the fact that my parents say they've seen more of the world, so they are scared about a lot of things, and because of that, that sort of got transferred to how they brought me up as a girl child. So so it was yeah, I think that was one of the biggest hurdles that I faced after school. To sort of, I won't say I have like entirely sort of broken the glass ceiling or anything. I mean, I still have a lot of things to do, a lot of things to um, you know achieve, I guess, and a lot of hurdles that I will still have to sort of go through. But I would say that it was the most tedious and the most tiring of all my all my hurdles so far. And also it was tough because my parents are well meaning, so it is not that it was not torture that I was going through. It was a genuine concern, and it was a genuine thing that I had to sort of convince them about, that it's fine, you have to let me go. And at times it gets really rough, so there was a lot of friction. But the point is that, and you have to deal with a lot of emotions at that time, because then you're thinking, then you sort of feel guilty, because you don't know if you're really doing the right thing, by making them upset, because you're fighting with them and you're trying to convince them and you're trying to do several things at the same time. So yeah, so navigating those emotions at the time was a bit yeah, not a bit, but yeah, very tiring. So that was one. Then after I moved out of Kanpur, I started working as a teaching fellow with Teach for India, um, and I got into what you call the development sector, teaching low grade. Teaching children who are coming from low income backgrounds, and um, that I think that was my second hurdle where, or not hurdle actually, I would say that that was when I was completely disillusioned, or that disillusionment set in, where you think you're helping, um, but you're just kind of going from day one to day two to day three, and you have to feel good about it because, and that entire NGO culture, that was I don't know, it's a bubble, and I didn't want to be a part of it. So a few months into it, I sort of just left. And yeah, so I think that was the second, that disillusionment was, I think, the second thing that was very difficult for me to navigate, because I did not want to feel like I was sacrificing anything, because if I sacrificing, as in if I'm teaching a certain children coming from a certain income group, or for that matter a milieu or whatever it is, who are not getting access, who are not as privileged as the others, to sort of really put it in that. I did not want to feel like I was sacrificing something. And because I don't want to feel like, because once you start feeling, that you're sacrificing something for somebody, then you start expecting. And once you start expecting, and what can you expect from the kids you're teaching, right? So, and a lot of other things that I was just not. So yeah, so I think navigating that space, and I got really depressed 8 months into it, and it was an extremely low phase, that because I moved out of home for the first time, and it was a really low phase to the extent where that I was suicidal, because I thought, I don't know what I would do with my life. What is it? I mean, what is wrong with me? Is there really something wrong with me? But I kept, but that voice that you're not doing the wrong thing by leaving it, or by whatever it is that you're thinking. I think that sort of kept me going, among other things. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for sharing it and being open about what has happened in your life. In your journey, you started, you said, like, and what are the areas you have covered, you mentioned. What got you into reading? Because, see, the title today is I Am What I Read. But what got you
Yeah.
into reading? Why are you fond of reading? What got you into it?
Okay, so I think I remember I was in fourth grade, and as in most middle class families, you get some hand me downs from your elder cousins, and we got some. My brother and we got some books from our cousins during a summer holiday, and I think up till then I was not really into reading as such. So I remember there were a pile of books that we had got, and there were two books particularly, which I read that summer sort of over and over again. One was David Copperfield. It was an unabridged version, I remember, and the other one was Arabian Nights, which was an abridged version, which sort of had around six stories only. And I think that just that just got me into reading. I don't think I've looked back after that. I don't know. It was just amazing. I didn't realize that reading could be so much fun. And it wasn't like, I mean, when I talk to a lot of people, they talk about how reading has been their escape, and also people with difficult childhoods say that how they got into reading was that that it was sort of an escape, and they would vanish into a fairy tale and a completely different world and all of that. But for me, it was none of that. I just enjoyed it. I just enjoyed reading and words and making sense of it. Most of the times, it just happened on its own. Like I didn't even have to comprehend things as such. Like I didn't have to force myself to understand what is written, and it just happened on its own. And I think since then I've been reading. Uh, just for the fun of it. I Whether it be stories or it be autobiographies or whatever genre it is, doesn't really matter. I just want to read. I do think that I'm a compulsive reader, because when I don't read, the day I don't read it, it just feels like there's something that there's something that's missing. So yeah. So I think that gift from my
When you say
elder
reading,
cousins got me. Yeah.
okay. When you say reading, what medium do you prefer? It's a audiobook or ebook version or paperback. Which one do you prefer, and why?
Okay. So this is something that I've been. I actually don't have a preference. And a lot of
Hmm.
readers might not agree with me, because for a lot of them it has to be like a physical book. But for me,
Hmm.
what matters more than the physicality of the thing is the thoughts and
Hmm.
ideas. So there was a time, I
Hmm.
agree, there was a time when I was maybe back in school, when we didn't have digital versions or we didn't have audiobooks.
Hmm.
When I absolutely just, I loved the idea of sleeping with a book, and I
Hmm.
think I still do to a certain extent. But now it has become more about what the book has to offer, what are the ideas, what is the author saying, what is the topic, what are they talking about, and as long as I can make notes, whether it be a Kindle version or an audiobook or a physical copy, I'm good with it, because I make a lot of notes, so it kind of makes me feel like I'm in a dialogue with the author. So as long as I can do that, I think I'm fine with any medium. I mean, it could be an audio. In fact, this year I think I have heard more audiobooks than I have read books, as a physical thing. So yeah, and I mean, it's fine. Like, and with audiobooks, I mean, I could be doing anything and I could still be listening to an audiobook. So multitasking, because now there is lesser time. So yeah, so I mix and match.
Okay. See, generally it is said that readers are possessive about their books. Okay.
Okay.
Whether people
Yeah.
agree or not, people there's a thing like, okay, they're very possessive about their books. Are you one of those kind?
Um, I think I used to be at one point in time. I used to be very possessive about books, and I would get really upset and irritable when people didn't return the books that they borrowed. But Hari, over a period of time, I've come to realize that um, it is not about owning or possessing a book. It's more about it is, like I said, it is more about the ideas and the story. If it's a fictional, if it's a fiction book that you're reading. So I feel that it's more about the ideas and what it is inside the book than like the act of owning a book or possessing a book. It does not matter to me all that much now. I think the other reason also is that I would rather that somebody be reading that copy of the book somewhere than it lying on my bookshelf collecting dust. So I would happily give out my copies of the book to other people, and as long as they're reading it and they're passing it on to other people, I think no, I think that I've overcome that, where I feel possessive about books. I think share. as much as you can.
Okay. Okay. Now, are there any books which has helped you to get clarity? Because yes, generally reading and without much efforts, you are able to comprehend and you enjoy reading it. But there should be some
Yeah.
books which has helped you to sculpt yourself to be who you are today, right? So,
Yeah.
has it helped you in shaping or reshaping your thoughts, or having certain perspectives initially, and then after reading the books, you formed a new perception about the particular topic? Explain on that.
Okay. The answer to that question is constantly. So it's like
Okay.
every time I read a book, um, I my mindset sort of shifts a little bit, and there's constant deconstruction and then construction of of ideas, and how the mind how the mindset is being formed, as far as I'm concerned. So it's constant. If I talk about how often that has happened, also I feel there can never be one book that will sort of change your life forever. I'm always, because I'm reading so many all the time. I would say that every time, sort of, it is like how like how we talking about I am what I read, or I am what I read. So it is an accumulation. I believe an accumulation of all the books that I have read so far. And I am wary of actually naming books, but I think I would go ahead and say that a few of them, which have sort of completely changed my mindset and changed my life, are the Tao Te Ching, which is it's not actually a book; it's a text by Lao Tzu on Taoism, and that is one. It's a difficult book to read, so it's better you don't read it cover to cover, but you sort of pick up a little bit every day.
Yeah,
I mean, you take a bit from it every day. Yeah. So one is that, and I think the other books, of course, there's J. Krishnamurti, who has completely, like, I think the current thing is definitely for me is J. Krishnamurti's talks and books.
okay. See, there's this famous author here in Tamil Nadu. He's no more. There was this
Okay.
author. His name is Mr. Sujata. Okay.
Okay.
Uh, he had this habit of, in his house, in each room he'll have a different book. Whenever he goes
Right.
to that book room, he will read that book and he'll keep it there. Then when he goes
Right.
to his sit, and then if he's in the living room, if he's in the bedroom, he has different books, and not one or two, many books, and he has his habit of reading one or two books in each room. Do you also have that, or is it a common practice with most of the people who are fond of books? Because I spoke with many of my friends, some who are into publishing, some not in publishing, but they're just fond of books. Coffee and books is their
Right.
thing. Okay,
Right.
so also while I was working in Kerala, a lot of them have this habit. Some of my friends who work with me on weekends, they take their favorite books and pack little bit sandwiches or some food with them. There are
Right.
certain pockets of forest where we can go and sit. Okay, not too deep into where the forest department approval is required. Small areas where they go, spend the day there, eat, again read the book, nothing else. Just lie down on the grass, read, then sit near the waterfall, read, and then eat, and then come back. Okay, so
Okay.
comment on this. I mean, is this a normal practice? Which is because I've never seen. Of course, there's no forest here to see that here in Chennai. But this reading in different reading different books in different rooms.
Yeah.
What's the concept behind that, and why do people do that? Do you do that first of all?
Yes, in fact, it's going to be. I mean, the funny thing is that when I was at home in Kanpur, there used to be books in bathrooms as well.
Hmm.
So even in the washroom, there's going to be a book. So it used to be like that. And at one point, I remember there was a relative came to our place
Hmm.
after some 20 years or something, and the moment he entered the house, he made a comment, and I think that has been the best compliment anyone has ever paid to me. He said, "I don't know if I've entered a house or a library."
Wow.
And I was so happy, and my day was made. I was like, yes. And there was a point when my mom told me that if you order any more books in this house, I am going to have to burn them, because there is just no place. There's no space at all where we can stock your books anymore. So and as far as the question about different books and different groups is concerned, absolutely. And in my case, also a different medium. So I'll have one going on my Audible, one on my Kindle, and then physical books, as many rooms as there are in the house. So yes, but I don't know if everybody practices that, because I have a lot of friends who try they like to focus on one book at a time. So I think different readers have different practices. But yeah, I definitely am one of those people who has one book in every room. And to the extent that I make sure that if I step out, like obviously now that is a difficult task, but earlier, when we could step out, I made sure that I carried a book with me, because you never know,
Hmm.
in case of emergencies. So
Right.
yeah, I definitely, yeah, best friends.
Okay. Okay. And now let's move to the second segment of 1 inch margin. Why this
Yeah.
name 1 inch margin? Let's start from there.
So my partner at One Inch Margin, Sham, or he's also, I mean, he's better known as Grey Stroke. He's an illustrator and a writer as well. And so he has, in terms of design,
Hmm.
he has this thing about 1 inch margins
Hmm. Hmm.
in books, right?
Hmm.
So that design obsession that we have about the margins made us sort of give our publishing house the name that it got. And somehow we actually, it just happened all of a sudden, and it just stuck with us. We shortlisted it, and then we decided to just go with it, because it just felt so right. And this is exactly, it also sort of reflects the kind of culture, and the kind of not culture, no, but the kind of thing, in terms of design that we wanted to do with our books. So 1 inch margins. So that is
Okay.
something else.
At 1 inch margin, what all do you do? When you say publishing, it's only like, say, for example, if I have written something and I want to get it published, or if
Yeah.
I'm thinking of writing, or if I'm a writer, do you support me with techniques, or what would be the best selling uh, basic templates for a book and things like that? How do you go about guiding the people who come to you? What all services do you
Uh,
provide?
so we are essentially a publishing house, and we are not into, like, as 1 inch margin. We are not into any sort of other services, like mentoring, or trying to hone other people's skills as far as writing, or um, you know uh, illustrations, or anything other than that is concerned. But and then we are very particular about the quality, of the manuscripts that we are getting. So uh, I think what we really look, how I think from where we really pick up and help on sort of honing the manuscript, is when we know that it is already at a certain level. So yeah, I think we are essentially, and we are not template based at all. So we really, we've started with the children's books, but we are really looking forward to doing any kinds of books that will come to us, as long as the quality is good and we have something to work from. So it already has to be a certain standard in terms of writing, also in terms of what it is dealing with, what you're talking about. And if you're talking about stories, we don't want it to be, we are not looking for stories that deal with a certain, like, the story should not have stem from the need to talk about a certain issue. uh, you know the issue, if it
Okay.
comes
If it's
automatically, it is the other way around.
understand. If it's
Yeah.
intertwined with the situation or where the story happens, that is
Yeah,
fine.
exactly. If it flows organically, if it flows naturally, that is absolutely okay. But we are not
Not as a
issue
base.
based. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. 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 Now, with 1 inch margin, okay, what kind of impact are you attempting, or what was the motive of this? I understand this is a publishing company, and when you mention about, like, you're very particular about the quality and the content and what approach you're taking. Uh,
Right.
how do you see what kind of impact it will be creating in the community?
So Hari, when we started talking about 1 inch margin, and when we started talking about books, and because I had already worked with TFI at one point, and I had seen a dearth of books, really good books, and most importantly, the accessibility to books, because it's just a good picture book, if you talk about, will cost you somewhere around 250, 300 rupees. Um, and we didn't want that for 1 inch margin, we for 1 inch margins books, especially the picture books, the children's books. And so I think one of the one of the things that we've done, and we want to do across all our children's books at least, is that they're going to be priced 100 and within, because we really want to reach to as many kids as we can, to as many children as we can, who can enjoy a book, who love books, who can read books. And the whole idea is to make books accessible to as many people as we can, as many children as we can. So we are also tying up. We are also trying to work with a lot of foundations, and we're trying to work with a lot of NGOs in that sense. I mean, not NGOs really, but organizations who can help us reach out to more kids. So definitely, yes, I think in terms of what we want to, what kind of impact we want to create in the community, we really want to reach out to as many children as we can. And I have worked for about 2-3 years when I was working with Nutspace in Kanpur. I worked extensively on creating a love for books. So the whole idea of 1 inch margin for me is also about creating that love for books and for stories. And consequently, when they sort of grow up, when these kids grow up, they grow up loving stories and loving books, and they see it as something which is fun, which is which adds to sort of their personality, which adds to the joy. So what it has been for me, pretty much, I would want to sort of show that to that books are fun, and it's a joyful activity. So I want to do that is the kind of impact that we are trying to create with 1 inch margin.
Okay. Now, how do you make it happen? Like, I understand, like, in a regular scenario, things would have
Yeah,
been quite different. With the
yeah,
current scenario now,
yeah.
and how do you see the future where this kind of impact? It's a very, very noble thought to have this kind of affordable books, encourage reading, and that actually expands the horizon of thinking. And there are a lot of things which will help them to, even if you see at the larger picture, when they start at the very early age of reading, and
Hmm.
that possibly could end up making them a responsible citizen, and with proper understanding, analyzing. There are a lot of things involved in layers.
Yeah.
But in this COVID situation, in this current scenario,
Hmm.
how do you see this achieved?
So we need stories and good stories and hopeful stories now more than ever, is what I
Mm,
believe.
mm,
And the situation is, um, it's I mean, I would really like to highlight that fact here that our first book came out last month.
wow.
So COVID or no COVID, we are really trying to make sure that we continue doing what we can, because we was so our first book came out, and as far as battling the challenges that we are going to be facing now because of COVID, we are assuming that for the next at least 1 year or year and a half, most of the content dissemination is going to be on on internet, on through internet, right? So we are trying to work on creating more digital content in terms of say ebooks. And if our hard copies suffer that way, like if books are not we are not able to reach out with hard copies, at least they should get soft copies, as in if they could get a Kindle copy or a PDF or whatever it is that we can do to reach out as many kids as we can. We would love to do that. Plus we are also in talks with, like I said, a lot of foundations and a lot of other people who are working in this field. Teachers, storytellers who are already working in this field. We are trying to get in touch with them, and we're tying up with them, and we are trying to we're making sure that our stories reach out at this time more than because I think that yeah, we need good stories and hopeful stories now more than ever. So yeah.
Uh, what I came to know from my friend in Zurich was they have a separate time allotted for children where they read out books, especially in this
Right.
COVID time. Uh, he was our guest, I think third or fourth guest. He was mentioning, like, they have a special time and they sit down and they discuss and they have different themes.
Right.
And it does have message for the kids, and but not
Yeah.
too heavy. So
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Also, he said, like, sometimes even they sit and listen with them, because it's, even though they say it's for kids, but the story is so good. More than the story, the way it's told, it's explained. Even
Right.
adults get interested and they sit and listen. So he was
Yeah.
actually asking, would it be possible to have something like in our show as well? But honestly, like, I did meet two. One is you, the other one is a person who does this in Chennai for children.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
So probably, like, after this session, I'll discuss with you more on that, because
Yeah.
from what you're saying and from what I'm seeing, mostly in Europe and some parts of US, they've already started doing.
Right.
I
Right.
remember in Doordarshan, a few years before, they had this kind of thing in on Sundays, but then they
Right.
stopped. Like, where a person will come, sit down, and she'll read a story and she'll explain, or she'll tell a
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
Storytelling as a program.
Absolutely.
Good,
Yeah.
good. So the next question is, now, okay, you have told why 1 inch margin, what kind of impact it is attempting to create, what kind of uh, or I'll put it this way, like, irrespective of the situation,
Yeah.
1 inch margin is determined to do certain things, and it has already started doing it, right? So
Absolutely.
now, say if a person wants to also have, uh, come into this picture of, like, they give a complete media slots with radio or things like that, where your audiobooks will be told the topic which I told, like, where this person becomes a story telling program where they talk about a particular topic, and then it is on a weekly basis. If any radio or TV, if they are coming forward to collaborate, okay, are you willing? And this is this only for a particular state or a district, or are you pan India? Are you open to pan India?
Oh, we are definitely big. We are going big, so we are going
Okay.
all out, and it'll definitely be. It's a pan India thing, and we are. Like I said, we are trying to reach out as many people as we can. So if we restrict it to say a state or a city or even a particular region, like say south or north or whatever, then we are sort of restricting ourselves. Through digital copies, we are even reaching out to UK and US,
Yeah, that's what I
and
was.
yeah, and
I
we
was
have
having only
made
that in mind. Yeah.
yeah, we have made sales in Australia, US, and UK as well.
Okay.
So we're definitely not restricted geographically or ideologically or any other way. So we're
Okay.
going all out. And
Okay.
yeah, I mean, we are open to collaborations definitely, but yeah, we always take it off the camera.
Right. Thank you. We have a couple of viewers. We have Abhijit Singh, way to go, Anam. And then we
Yeah, he's a friend
have,
of mine.
okay, we have Hemraj, who has
I
said
am
virtual
Raj.
hug. Okay.
Oh, sweet. Thank you.
Okay. Now, are there any plans to have uh, book clubs, which normally has story clubs and like this in school level? Do you
Mhm.
plan to have that one? And the second part of the question, like, are there any in future, maybe second layer, third layer, probably in that level, would
Yeah.
you be also having encouraging people to write?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I am always, what was the first question, by the way? I'm sorry. I think I got sidetracked by the second question.
Okay, the first question is, will we be having clubs in schools?
All right.
Okay,
Okay. Yeah.
where we encourage reading as a habit.
Mhm.
And second
Yeah.
part is clubs in colleges where we encourage them to write, like as in we mentor them or we guide
Right.
them
Yeah.
to write, to express their feelings through written form, in the written form. So
Right.
schools and college is the two question. One reading, the other one writing.
Yeah.
Will one
Um,
inch margin get into it? That's a question.
Oh, okay. Why not? I mean, why not? Definitely. And since you brought up this question, I would really like to touch upon the craft part of it and why we are extremely, why we are extremely conscious and very careful about, or very particular rather, about the kind of manuscripts that we're picking up is also because as much as the art sort of matters, the craft is also an essential part of it. So you might have a good idea, but if it is not, sort of expressed well enough, I would say that it is difficult for us to pick that manuscript up. So when we talk about writing, I am definitely going to touch upon the craft part of it, and I would be very happy actually to push people to, sort of write if they're really interested in it, and to work on the craft of writing as much as the art of it. Because sometimes what happens is that we do get manuscripts. Which we are just sort of blown away by the story, by the art part of it. But when it comes to the language, or when it comes to say the craft of it, we have to sort of let it go sometimes. So when you talk about writing, I would definitely, as one inch margin, like to sort of go forward with that. Maybe if not immediately, sometime in the future, where we're mentoring or talking about it. So we are not. Although I can't say anything for sure, but the thing is that we're not closed to anything. We don't say no to anything. So all opportunities, all collaboration opportunities, whatever it is, all tie-ups. I mean, we are really looking sort of forward to it. So That I mean, we don't believe in no's as long as we can maintain the quality of it.
The reason I asked is we do have viewers and people who like to collaborate from different parts of the world. Okay, we
Right.
have some from US, a lot from
Okay.
UK part, and a little bit on Switzerland side as well. So these are
Oh,
the three areas. That's why I was thinking like this question came from there.
okay.
Now we have finished the second segment. Okay, now we are
Right.
moving on to the third segment. Third
Right.
segment. First question is this: apart from this reading, writing,
Hmm.
publishing,
Hmm.
uh,
Hmm.
if Anam is given an opportunity to act in a movie,
Okay.
okay, and
Hmm.
who would the director be, or who you want the director to be and the actor to be, and why? Your opposite lead actor, why? Whether you'll
Uh,
act is the first question. Second, who do you want the director to be? And third one, who do you
okay.
want the lead, male lead to be?
Okay. A very good question. So a movie is already on the cards. Actually, I am already acting in one. It has been directed by my favorite director, Shyam Madhavan Sharda, and he has, he it's his movie, directed by him, and I'm acting in the movie. As to your the other part of the question where you say who would I want to be
Uh,
opposite, like
no,
right?
male lead.
I think I would
Male lead.
male lead. Yeah, I think I would want it to be an only female thing. So I would want to be the only lead in the movie. No
Okay.
romantic.
Okay. 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 Fine. Fine. Now, are you also writing any books? Are you
Yes.
planning to author? Are you authoring any books? Can you tell about that?
Uh, Yes, yes, definitely I can. I am. So our second book is coming out probably by the end of this month or the beginning of the next month, and so my sister was born with Down syndrome, and she's a year younger to me, and so that book is about her. But I wanted to sort of make it. It's
Mm,
from the point of view of an elder sister,
mm,
an elder sibling who is trying
mm,
to make sense of a sister who seems different in some way,
mm.
and I wanted the book to be for children. So it's a picture book, and that is definitely on the cards. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
So that is
Now
the
I'll.
next thing that's coming out.
Okay. Good. Good. Next one is you become the chief minister of Karnataka.
Oh,
Okay.
okay,
Okay,
right.
and if you become okay, and
Oh,
you want to put it in a different way, like okay, you're acting in a movie, and in that the story happens in Karnataka, and you're now
hmm,
the chief minister of Karnataka. What three things
hmm.
would you change with the long term impact for Karnataka?
Okay, okay.
Three things.
Right. I have only recently moved to Karnataka, so I don't know what
Okay,
exactly it is that.
I'll
Uh,
rephrase the question. Let's say you're in
but
Kanpur.
you will get the answer. Yeah.
Okay, either
Right.
Kanpur or Bangalore, you can change the
Yeah.
venue location, change it
Right.
according to your
Yeah. Yeah.
preference. But the question is
Yeah.
this: three things to change, long-term impact.
Right. Right.
Hmm?
See, I don't, yeah, so I don't know about the chief minister thing, but if I was given the power to change something, I think the one thing that I would completely get rid of is inequality on the basis of caste, creed, religion, color,
Hmm.
because I have a major problem, a major issue with how we view people, because we don't. When we talk to other people, it's not just talking to that human being.
Hmm.
We are constantly sort of measuring. Okay, so this caste, this creed, okay, color, and okay, religion, okay, female, male, or transgender or gay. I mean, so everything is it's just like okay, so there are so many sort of aspects that we are constantly judging people on, and that creates a basis of inequality all the time. And I think that would be the first thing that I would want to sort of completely get rid of, so that we can begin to see other human beings as just human beings instead of seeing caste, color, sexual orientation, and
Hmm.
stuff like that. So that is definitely one thing. And
Hmm. Now, second one.
what would be the second thing? I think you know the hmm, I think this is one of the main things that I have a problem with. I think the second thing that I would really want to change is the violence
Hmm.
that we are seeing all around us for some time now. I think that is another thing that really disturbs me, because there is nothing that we cannot achieve through dialogue. And why, and I feel that people who get violent in that moment are truly sick, not like sick where you sort of feel, but really sick. Yeah. So I mean, it is something that should be sort of worked around. I
Okay.
feel like definitely completely that whole violence thing I would like to change. And the third thing is the taboo around mental health, and that whole idea of oh, you're going to the psychiatrist, or you're consulting a psychiatrist, or oh, she's going through a certain thing, or he's going through a certain thing. And that is also something that we have seen recently being talked about a lot. But I've also come to realize that all the people do talk about it constantly. uh, we are still not able to come, like we're still not able to come out of that conditioning uh, which has happened over the years and is so strong around mental health. So
Okay.
that is also something that I guess I would completely want to wipe out. That okay, somebody is not feeling well mentally today, so they can take them off. It's fine.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. Thanks for that. Now we move on to the next question. Anam Fatima as a person has seen
Hmm.
a lot, has seen successes, has seen challenges, has seen hurdles, has seen super successes, and there are many more waiting as well in her journey. But as of today, whatever she has
Right.
achieved, if you owe
Right.
your success to people who are around you,
Right.
people who were with you from
Yeah.
professional side, personal side, now you can mention their name and thank them. Please go ahead.
Oh, wow. This is something that I've practiced in front of the mirror so many times. So yeah. I think over the years, I would say definitely. I think I would want to start with my parents, because if my father or my mother didn't think that, I mean, that their decision to actually send me to a good school and get me the best education that that was possible for them at the time to provide me with. If that hadn't happened, if they hadn't taken that decision, if they had gone with what everybody around them were, sort of going with, I wouldn't be sitting here in front of you, and maybe I would have taken another 20 years to sit here in front of you. So that sort of fast tracked, my success or whatever it is. But yeah, but I definitely think that my mom and dad would be the first people I would like to thank for that one decision that they took at the time. And other than that, definitely over the years, a lot of people that I have met, the good and the bad, have sort of helped me shape, to become what I am today. So definitely my teachers, like I talked about earlier, also Mrs. Joseph and Mr. Rodrigues. And after that, I met a lot of really negative people as well. So I'm not going to name them, but they also sort of pushed me in some certain sense to prove myself and do something about it. So definitely, I won't maybe thank you, but yeah, them too. And um, all my friends who were there with me throughout when I was suffering mentally, I don't think I could have come out of it, or I could have championed that phase of my life without them. And the last person that I would like to really, really thank for sort of saving me is my business partner Sham, because it's very rare that you come across people who have similar mindsets and who have similar dreams and who would want to sort of invest with you and make something out of it. So to to have the kind of trust and to sort of invest the time and resources with me to do this what we're doing. Definitely, I mean, definitely, it is something that I'm very, very grateful about.
Thank you. And now, for people who wish to become writers, okay, who
Right.
wish to become writers, what is your tips to them? What is your suggestion or advice, however you want to call it? But there are many people who want to express it through words, and
Hmm.
since they do not have guidance, or people
Hmm.
whom they can approach are not in their uh, capacity to afford, they
Hmm.
do look for mentors to start with or suggestions to
Hmm.
start with, and then probably they would like to grow. So what kind of tips would you give to the aspiring writers?
Right. I think I'm going to harp on the age old advice of first read as much as you can, because that will really help you get better, with the craft in terms of the language and the storytelling itself. If you're writing fiction, and other than that, I mean, the first thing that you have to make sure that you do is read as much as you can. That is definitely the first thing, and then write. That is how I have also achieved whatever little I have with my writing. I have I've written as much as I could in terms of practice, and I would like to quote Margaret Atwood here, that when you're writing, please remember that your dustbin is your best friend, because if you don't like something, just chuck it and write again. So that is one thing. The second thing that you talk about mentorship. Yeah, I absolutely agree with you that it is very important to take feedback, because the right kind of feedback sort of fast tracks your progress. So if you are not able to find a mentor around you, um, you know try to find one on internet. Maybe social media has given us access to has really sort of broadened the horizon for all of us. And if you write to 10 people and only one replies, I guess it's worth the effort, because it is. I don't think it is ever easy. So I understand that. I understand the challenge, because I think I've gone through that myself. But yes, it's very important to take feedback from somebody who you look up to, because that definitely sort of fast tracks everything in terms of
Okay.
writing. Yeah.
Okay. When is the movie expected to release?
The director has not informed me yet.
Okay. 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 Okay.
uh, it's in post production as of now. So that's all I know.
Okay.
But yeah, um, I think it
Okay.
will be soon. Soon
Okay.
is my
So, okay.
thing.
Thank you so much, Anam. I requested for 60 minutes of your time, and you have reached 60 minutes. We have covered a lot of areas which we wanted to. All the questions are asked, and thank you so much for accepting to be with us. And definitely, there'll be quite a few viewers who are interested in writing, and also about the publishing part of it, where you said like where 1 inch margin can be of guidance assistance, and in future, if there's any requirements, so they can come to your website to approach. So I'll share that as well in the description
Definitely.
of this video. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Any closing remarks from you? You can go ahead.
No, thank you so much for inviting me. I had a really good time talking to you. I think it was fun. I hope it was the
Likewise.
same for you.
Likewise. Likewise. The feeling is mutual. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anam. Thank you.
Vanakkam, adab.
Vanakkam, vanakkam, Anam. We had Miss Anam Fatima with us, and she explained in a very simple manner about the reading habit, the importance of reading a lot of books before one would decide to become a writer. And her website details will be given in the description. Please do follow and approach them for any guidance in that aspect.